Here we send the request to this particular endpoint. Instead of that, we can send it to our particular endpoint. Okay, here, then this part I will take. Okay, now if I send the request, you can see there was a small delay because the configured delay of 1000 milliseconds. Now the request came to hosted Wiremock server and we had a stub for this particular path and query parameters. So in that case, this particular stub was mapped and it sent the response which I configured. Hello my dear friends and welcome back to QeBro, your favorite YouTube channel. So last week we were discussing about Postman and how to use its features related to creating the mock server. So there I explained like why these mock servers are useful and how you can use Postman to create mock servers within itself. And also I mentioned that not only Postman, there are some other tools as well where you can create mock servers for your testing purposes. So today also I'm going to introduce you to another tool where you can use it for creating these mock servers for your testing purposes. So this is one such tool called Wiremock. So using Wiremock also you can easily create the mock servers for your testing purposes. So in that case, you don't need to wait till your developers finish the API development. You can also start creating your API test cases. And also, as I mentioned last week, other scenarios like other integrations, if you need to do on your non-prod environment with third parties. So instead of doing integration with the actual endpoints, you can use these mock servers. So that's why mock servers are used. So a quick recap on like why mock servers are needed for today. So yeah, so let's deep dive into Wiremock and see how we can use Wiremock for our mocking purposes. So in Wiremock, there are two options. One is like you can use the Wiremock core engine locally, or else you can use the cloud. But the cloud paid version, only a 30-day free trial is available. But you can use the open source one without paying anything for free. And also the community, those things you can see. So let's see whether, okay, to get some information on a comparison of the, okay, so here I will click on the learn more option and so it came to the Wiremock Cloud page. So if you scroll down here at the bottom, you can see a comparison of using the static mocking, the Wiremock, the open source one and versus the Wiremock Cloud, the differences. So if you use the open source one, you can do only static mocking and API recording. But if you use Wiremock Cloud, other than that, you can see some other features as well, like you can use the API templates, advanced dynamic responses, chaos testing, and also you can use external data sources for the responses and stateful mocking. Likewise, there are additional features available with the Wiremock Cloud paid version, but yeah, the Wiremock open source one is also enough for your day-to-day work. Like using this, you can easily do some static mocking and also record and playback option is there. So you can easily create the mock request responses. Okay, so today I will use the Wiremock Cloud part. So then we can like see all the available features, and then next week I will show you like how to use this Wiremock locally, the free version. Okay, so I will go to get started and I will register. Okay, so after the login, so it redirected here and yeah, it's asking some questions, or it's just put some answers. Yeah, that's fine. And yeah, some tutorials are also there, so I will skip those things. Okay, so this is like the landing page on the Wiremock, and here also you can see information about our trial. Just the 30-day free trial period is there. Okay, so I will delete these things. These are not needed. It already added some some request responses and stuff here. So I will delete all these things. So then we can start freshly. Okay. So the first things first. So first we need to create the APIs. mock API. So here is the option like under the mock API tab. If you come, you will see the create new option. Okay, so then here you can select what is the API type, whether you are using REST or unstructured, so you can use it if you don't know, or gRPC, or else if you want to pick from the library a template. So all these options are available. So I am planning to today use the one of these free APIs which we already used in our API testing playlists. Yeah, so I will use this particular API, so then I can use these API parameters and things, and then the okay, now let's see. I will use this request parameters and the structure. If I call it now, the request will send to the actual servers hosted by themselves. But using the mock server, what I will do is like, instead of sending this to this particular endpoint, I am sending this to my Wiremock mock server with, let's say, these path and query parameters. So if we create the mock server correctly, then the mock server should also send us the same response template if it matches this particular the path and query parameters. I hope it's clear. So we're just going to replace the URI part to point to our mock servers instead of sending the request directly to the actual server. So that is what happening with the mock servers, the mocking when you do actual testing as well. Okay, so then I will go with REST, and then I can give a name. I will give some data, and here you can create a custom host name. So the host name is useful if you want to replace this part now when you need to point your request to the mock servers. So this part you need to replace. So that is this host name. So either it will automatically generate one or you can have a custom one. So I will use okay, QeBro. So it will create a server running on this endpoint qebro.wiremock.api.cloud. So then you can send the request to this particular endpoint. And since we are using the Wiremock Cloud, so this particular server is running on their cloud server. So that's why we need to pay. If you use the Wiremock open source one, then you need to run the servers on your in your local computers. So in that case, it is like in-house hosting you need to do for the mock server. And in this case, I am using the cloud hosting. Okay, so I will save and then it will redirect to me, yeah, to this new page. And here now you can see the endpoint created by Wiremock. So this is now running on Wiremock Cloud. So if I go to this particular URL, now you can see it's sending a response. From this now we can make sure now the server is up and running. So it says no response could be served as there are no stub mappings. So yeah, that's correct because we still haven't created any stubs. Stub means like when we send the request, it will take the pattern. We can configure those things in the stub. Then it will check for the particular pattern and then it will find whether there is any matching stub is created. Then it will send the configured response. So now it is time to create the stubs. So here the option called the new stub, you can go to the new stub. So once you come to the new stub, it will automatically add one default one. So you just need to update. So this one, let's say I will put as users get request. Then if you need, you can give a description as well. So I will just put, yeah, this is enough. And you can do some formatting as well if you need. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is good. Then now using Postman also you see how to create these things. Now this is the place where you need to configure for your HTTP method. Since this particular request, it's a get request. So here I will select get. And now is the parameter path. So this is the base URL part and then the path parameters and the query parameters. So I will take this part and I will replace here. And then here also this part is the path params and this part is the query parameter. So what we do is like here you can see this is the place where we can create the matching or the mappings. So when a request come with specific, let's say either path parameters, query parameters, or body parameters, then from the Wiremock it will, let's say it has like many stubs. So then how it can map for which request, which response. So because like here if we create, let's say stubs for all these request types. So let's say these two both are get requests, but the difference here path parameter and here we have query parameter part. But in this one, there is no query parameter. So here we can create a configuration like if we have the query parameter, then send this particular request. If we have only this path parameter, then send this request. So that is the matching what we need to do here. So that's how Wiremock will manage the mapping between the request and responses once a request is received, which response it need to send. Okay, so let's see. So I will remove this query parameter part from here, and here URL match type, it currently have like path template. That means like only the path parameters. Okay, I will keep as path template, or here you can go with any URL. Any URL means if you give any URL, it doesn't care like what is the request or the path parameters, query parameters. If you send, let's say even different types, it will send, it will like, since it will match this, the same response will be sent for all the requests. But it is not what we need, because in our mock server we need to handle different scenarios, because in our services we have different endpoints, and then also not only the success response, we need to handle the failure responses as well, right? So in that case we need to have the matching. So I will go with path template, and here priority is like we can set a weight. Let's say we have two match. So for one URL request, Wiremock will find two matching stubs. So in that case, it will select based on the priority. One is the highest priority. So let's say, okay, we have two stubs. So the new request, when it comes to the Wiremock server, Wiremock will find there are two stubs which match the same. So in that case, then it will check for the priority. Priority, let's say one stub has like priority 2 and the next one had priority 5. So in that case, priority 2 is highest. So the response will send from that particular stub which had the priority 2. I hope it's clear. Okay, then here you can create the other matching to do the mappings. You can add the query param, or else if you want to search for some items in the header, cookies, or body parameters, then the form parameters. Likewise, you can add this from here. So since our case we have this, since we have a query parameter page 2, I will take it from here and I will add a query parameter. So here key here and value here. So this side key page and this side value 2. So yeah, the equal sign we don't need. And then here also you can put some different comparisons, whether equals, matching regex, contains. So in that case I will put equals. So exact match need to be there. And then here you can configure data sources. If you want to send response from a data source, that can be configured here. And also this supports the Wiremock Cloud. If you can remember when I show the comparison between open source and the cloud version, the cloud version support state testing as well. And here is the option to reset the state. That means like when you send a request and then when Wiremock send the response back, this will create the state and it will keep it on the Wiremock side, the state. Then when you send the next request, so the stateful requests and the services you can test like that. Then let's say if you want to start from beginning or you need to clear the state, so using this reset state option you can reset all the states. Okay, so since our case we don't need state or data source, I will not put those. Okay, then what we need to send as the response. Okay, here. So now if we receive a request with API users with query parameters page and the value as 2, we need to send a response with 200 status code, let's say. And then you can configure like what are the headers, I will keep only content type application JSON, and then what are the body? So body is JSON, and I will, okay, from here, this one, I will copy paste same, and I will put it here. And then if you click on indent, it will beautify the JSON as well. Okay. And then if you want to add a delay for the response, so this means like if we add a fixed delay of let's say 1000 milliseconds, that means like once I send the request and when the request received at the Wiremock server, it will wait for 1000 milliseconds before it send the response. I hope it's clear. Okay, so that's about creating the stub, and then here's the option like you can save it. Okay, now we have to send a request. Yeah, Wiremock chatbot is active now. Okay, so now what we can do is like here we send the request to this particular endpoint. Instead of that, we can send it to our particular endpoint. Okay, here, then this part I will take. Okay, now if I send the request, you can see there was a small delay. It was because the configured delay of 1000 milliseconds. Now the request came to my hosted Wiremock server, and we had a stub for this particular path and query parameters. So in that case, this particular stub was mapped and it sent the response which I configured. Here, if you put, let's say 3, but now in this case, if we come to the Wiremock servers, it will check all the stubs. It will check, but here it will fail because it is asking equal to exact match to 2, but I am sending 3. So in that case, we don't have any other stubs as well. So there are no matching stubs in this case. So this should fail. So this is how when a failure occurs, it will give some report as well. So for your debugging purposes, if it was like, let's say, if it was a mistake, so from here you can easily identify what happened. So it says what is the request sent, a get request with path parameters as API/users, query parameters as page 3. Then it shows like what was the closest matching stub. Okay, they had a get request, the path template were correct API users, but it was accepting query parameters as page 2. But we sent page 3. So here it shows query parameters does not match. So it's easy to debug. So then you know what was the concern. Then if it was a mistake, you can correct it, or else if you need, you can create new stub as well. Okay. So that is about how you can create this. And here also from here, no need to send like this. So use any other tools. Using Wiremock itself, you can send the request as well. So if you send, you can see the response is received. And also from here, you can save it, copy curl command. Those options are also there. Then here's the option like if you want to invite your team members to join with your project and help with creating stubs and everything, you can share it with giving different permissions. So those options are also there. And then if you need, you can save this API template as a new template. The record option I will come later. Then, so instead of creating this manually, you can import. If you have the API definitions or the Postman collections or anything, here you can easily import it. So you can upload those files, and also this one you can export. Those options are also available. Then before going to the recording, I will, okay, let's clear this. Okay, I will go to the other options here. So there is the request log. So this is like you can, whenever a new request hit the Wiremock servers, it will create these records. So when I send page equal 3, there was a record and it says unmatched. When I send page as 2, I have a report here with matched. So if you go to unmatched, now you can get more detailed information here, like what was the received URL, what method, what was the client IP, and the other header values received, and what was the response it sent. And from here also now you see, if there is no such a stub, if you want, it will now allow you to create convert this to a stub from here. So it is easy. Now you don't need to go and create it. So you can ask Wiremock to convert this to a stub. So it will create all these things, path template, page equals 3. So all these things are added. Only thing you need to do is like you need to update the response which you need to send. So I will delete that, I won't save. So that's easy. Another option like how you can easily create a stub. And then chaos testing is there. Yeah. Before that, let's go to the record. So I just wanted to show another easy way to create the stubs. So instead of like go and create it from the scratch, you can send a request and then come to the failed unmatched record and then convert it to a stub. So that also available. So that was the second option. And then third one is the import. The fourth one, the fourth way to create a stub is here, the record and playback. So this is very easy. So instead of like again creating from scratch, what you need to do is like here you need to specify what is the actual URL. But the problem is like in this case, like here the actual server need to be available. So like when we discuss about like what are the scenarios where we need to use the Wiremock, I mentioned that when the developers are still working on backend, also still you can use a Wiremock server and create the test cases. So that option is, for that particular option you can't use this stub recording because actual service is not there. But the second scenario I mentioned, if you have any third-party integrations for your testing purposes, you don't need to do the actual integrations, you can use the Wiremock. For those kind of scenarios, you can use this, the record and playback, because actual service is running. Okay, so what you need to do is like here it asks for the target URL, that means where the actual service is running, not the whole URL. You just need to give the base URL part only. So I will give the target URL. Then what happen is like, okay, now what I need to do is like, then you need to send a request to Wiremock your server, only this part, this path parama not needed. So what will happen is like when you send a request to this particular endpoint, since now record and playback is running, in this case Wiremock server will be working as a proxy, a middleman. So we send the request first to the Wiremock server and we have given the target URL here. So now when the request is received from Wiremock, Wiremock will save the request information and it will forward to the actual target URL. Then from the actual target URL, the response will come back again to the Wiremock server. Then Wiremock server will save the response part as well and create the stub and it will forward to us. So that's how this record and playback is working. Wiremock is working as a middleman or the proxy in this case. Okay, so I add the target URL and I need to start. Now you can see stub recording is started. Here you will see recording. Now what you need to do is like you need to send a request. Okay, this time I will use this particular request type, API user /2 or get request to get a single user. But now instead of like sending to actual server, what you need to do is like you need to send this request. Yeah, let me show. Okay, first let's see this endpoint. Okay, it sends something like this. So now I will take request is hit to Wiremock server. It will forward it to here to actual service, and then actual services send the response to Wiremock and then to me. Okay, and at the meantime, Wiremock will create this stub as well. Okay, I send the request. Okay, now you can see still even though we hadn't created the stub, okay, we got the actual response same as from the actual server because it was, as I mentioned, Wiremock proxied it to the actual service and then the response also sent back likewise. Okay, now if you want to send another, if you want to create multiple stubs here, you can send multiple requests, everything will be recorded. But for the demo purpose, I will create only this one and then I will click stop. Now let's see. Okay, still it's refreshing. Okay, here this was our first one which we created manually, and this is the second one which created from the record and playback. It has API users to name, and here you can see the path parameters are there. Here for the path, the variable is created called use ID, and the use ID here, the variable is assigned value 2. So when request is sent in, it will assign here as 2. Here this was created to match to the path parameter to matching purposes. It created this. So if you send 3, it will fail. And then here if you check the response 200, okay, and there are a lot of headers. If you don't need these headers, yeah, you can remove those headers. I will keep only the content type. And then here you can see the response received is also there and no delay. Okay, I will save. Now this time if I send again to this same endpoint, now the response will be sent from the Wiremock using the stub. So the proxy is not happening now because we have stopped the recording. So yeah, if you send, you can see it received the response. Okay, I will send again. You can see if I change it here, let's say 1. So now this will fail because there is no matching stub there. Path param doesn't match because the stub was expecting path parameter be 2, but what actually had was 1. So I hope it was clear. So very easily, likewise, you can create stubs. So that's the fourth method, you can create stubs. So then let's go to the other places, like we have another option called chaos testing. So this is like another good option, like if you want to test for these failure scenarios or network issues, those things if you need to simulate, so you can use the chaos part. So this is also available only with the Wiremock Cloud, not available with the open source part. So here you can configure for different delays, random delay or a fixed delay, and here you need to enable. And then you can configure like how much of percentage should it fail. So let's say if you configure as 25%, and if you send let's say 100 requests, only 25 will fail with this mentioned failure type. The rest of 75 will send the response based on the matched stub. So I will for the I will put 100%, and then like that means like each and every request received should fail with the configured failure type. So I will say, let's say socket close. And then if you want to send a different HTTP status codes for this, that also configurable. Let's say I will put 511 and I will save. Now if you send any request to Wiremock server, you will see it failed. Get here to send status as 511. So likewise, you can play with these different types. Every time you need to remember, if you do a change, you need to save, and also you need to enable this. Even enable that also you need to save. So if you, let's say, disabled, so I enabled here. Now you will see the save button is enabled, activated, so you need to save. Otherwise, even though you configure here, if this is not enabled and saved, it won't work. So let's try again. So you can see now connection closed and 511 received as configured. So I will, okay. So that is how you can use Wiremock servers for the chaos testing. Then the settings part, here you can do some settings. The base URL you can update from here. The API I created name, the host name, everything again from here also you can update. And here is like example on how you can call these via a Java code or a curl command. So that is also given here. And then you will see Open API. Okay, so here Open API part is useful like if you want to create a documentation for your created these stubs and everything. So here it will automatically generate for you. The version was added, the title as I mentioned, then the URL, and then the path API uses for the two stubs, and for each path the configured response and everything is here. The second one, okay, now then it's already saved. Then you can go to the settings here, and here also you need to enable this public API documentation, and then you can share this URL with anyone you need. So then they will be able to see the documentation about the API or the mocks you created. Okay, let's wait till it load, and here other than that you can configure security type, some validations, and all these settings are available. Okay, Now you can see the two endpoints, get one API/users should send as two, the curl command to send the request, and a sample response here. And yeah, so here also tree view you can view. And if you have multiple failures, I had, so then the other endpoint. So likewise, all these things will automatically be generated based on your created stubs. So every time you add a new stub, it will update the documentation. So that's why you need to manage your mock API separately here. So if you want to work on a separate project, separate API, then create a new mock API here, because if you add a new stub here, that will be added for the documentation. So if you want to separate those things, so then here is the place you can manage those separately. Okay, so yeah, easily you can create the documentation as well using the Wiremock. So then here you can see that templates are available here, yeah, and then the data sources. So if you want to send the responses using these data sources, here you can upload the CSV files and everything, and then you can use. Other than that, from here you can again invite members to your team, and also the other settings and billing, those stuff are available with this gear icon. So yeah, I think we covered everything related to the Wiremock Cloud. So I will stop from here for today, and next week we can see how you can use Wiremock locally with the Wiremock open source, the free one. I hope, yeah. So if you have any questions, any issues, yeah, you can reach me out qvbro.pro@gmail.com or using the comment section. Okay, then stay tuned till next week. We can see the rest of Wiremock on the next week video. Happy testing. See you.